Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I have an exciting ranking video for you. I'm going to be ranking all the eyeshadow that I personally tried out for the first time in 2022. It's a lot. 21 eyeshadow palettes to go through, but before we jump into today's video, I wanted to talk about the jewelry that I'm wearing. Ana Luisa recently reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in picking out some more pieces to talk about, and I jumped at the chance. I actually didn't try them out until this past year. Around Mother's Day, they asked me if I was interested in trying out their brand for the first time, and I was very excited because I've heard so many good things about Ana Luisa jewelry, and when I tell you I had high expectations, they were high, and I was not disappointed. So their company actually is like one that I say commonly when I talk about them, is that they practice what they preach. They really want to produce high quality jewelry, and then they also care about the planet as well, and everything that I have experienced with them is very consistent with that. The mailers that you get are 100% recycled cardboard. The little like packets here are 100% cotton, and the quality of the jewelry is so nice. I have a toddler, or not a toddler, I have a baby. She's almost 1. I don't know how that happened, but she likes to pull on my jewelry. Stayed intact. We're doing well over here. Today I am going to show you all the pieces that I own, talk about what I'm wearing, but when I say that I'm impressed with their not only jewelry quality, but just the fact that they are like fully consistent from what I've experienced. Like, I truly mean it when I say I'm impressed. So today, why don't we start with some pieces that I got back in was it Mother's Day, the first pieces that I ever got from the company. I did pick out the mama necklace because I was a new mama at the time. Such a beautiful little necklace. Falls to about right here, although it does have like a lot of their necklaces have like some adjustable hoops where you can shorten them a little bit if you want to. And then I also picked out at the time the Heritage set, and I knew I would like it, but I kind of underestimated just how much I would like it. I thought I need some basic layering pieces, but these guys have just blown my mind. They're nice, they're simple, but they have a little pizzazz to them, like they're textured a little bit, so it's not just a simple chain. They really do like elevate a layered look, but without being too distracting, if that makes sense. So this piece, and they are separate. They can come, like you can wear one or you can wear both. This set I highly recommend if you're interested in layering, but you don't want it to feel too busy. That's a really, really good one. And then the last thing I picked out around Mother's Day is the Toda Sky Blue earring set. Hopefully you can see there better. They're just little, like kind of somewhere between a huggy and a little mini hoop, and they have some light blue stones in them. These I picked out because they remind me of Gaelis's birthstone. She has like a light blue birthstone, and I really, really enjoyed wearing these as well. So much so that I actually picked out these guys this time. These are the Scarlet earrings, and because I want a second hole eventually, I'm still breastfeeding, so I can't go get a new piercing, but I have plans for immediately when I'm done breastfeeding. I'm gonna go get a second hole in my ear, but I really wanted something that was maybe a little bit more chunky than the Toda Sky Blues, but I also really liked the like double layered look of the Toda Sky Blue. So these again are the Scarlet. And then the necklaces I have on today, this is the Penelope set. Now, unlike the Heritage set, this set is attached, it doesn't separate, but it's a beautiful little bitty tiny triangular kind of diamond. I really like the shape of it. And then to go along with that, I thought this Vita necklace looked stunning, and honestly I think this might be my favorite piece that I've gotten in this little round. Stunning. It's like just enough, it's not too much, but it's got a little something. I actually had this one on an extender today because I knew I was wearing a higher shirt, so I wanted it to hang a little bit lower. And then on my own, I have picked up a couple other things. I picked up these little letter earrings. These obviously you have to buy separately because they're two different, what am I saying? You buy the letters separately so that you can kind of create your own like pair. So I have my initials, DB. These are so cute for when I'm like just really, really casual. I just want to throw some, like a stud in my earrings or in my ears, but they, you know, it's just different than like a normal basic stud. They have a little pizzazz to them. I like that they aren't exactly matching. And then I also have the Hannah Kate necklace that I bought on my own because, oh, it was backwards. But anyway, this guy reminded me of Gaelis as well. For those of you who don't know, she was born on the, I always get this confused, the winter solstice. So it was basically the darkest day of the year, and Bo and I like to say that she was the brightest light that came to fill our lives. And so she's like my little bright shining star is what I call her. And so when I saw this on the website and it's like a little bitty star, I had to get it. So those are pieces that I bought on my own. I also bought 2 other pieces, but I don't have them anymore because I gifted them since then, but these pieces make incredible gifts. In fact, they are going to run a sale from, let me double check the dates, December 6th until December 20th. If you're looking for a gift for yourself, gift for others, these are spectacular gifts. In fact, I know I'm gonna send Bo some more recommendations, but I hope you guys check out the sale. I do have a code with them. It is DaLin 20 for 20% off, and I'll also have a link in the description box to their website and the sale. I hope y'all check them out. Like, honestly, if you do, you will not be disappointed. But why don't we go ahead and get into today's video. Alright, as we get started, like I said, 21 palettes. Let's just start at the bottom. Ciate London, and this is the Velvet palette. This was one I saw in TJ Maxx, and I believe it was like literally like $4, is why I couldn't pass it up. Oh, I can't get it open today. And I don't think that the quality is necessarily bad, but what I don't like is that every matte shade in here, which there aren't that many, it's like 4, maybe 5, maybe that counts as a 5th. It's more of a satin, honestly. But every matte in here leans very, very like orangey pinky kind of color. So I feel like no matter what I want to do, like there are some shades that I want to look different. Like I don't want to necessarily just create like a pinky orange corally shade on the eye, but no matter what I do, I'm kind of forced to do that look because there aren't that many matte options in here. I feel like, again, I just need like some different kind of undertone matte, and this palette would probably rank pretty high, or not pretty high, but higher than it definitely is. But this one, a little bit disappointed in. At the same time, I think I spent like $4 on it, and I had not tried out Ciate formula before, so maybe not the biggest waste of money, but at the same time, not what I was hoping for. Number 20. I'm really shocked to put this here. This is the Colorbell Tinkerbell palette. I hear so many people really enjoy this palette, and I was suckered into it because I was like, ooh, I've had some good luck with ColourPop like shades and shadows recently, especially greens, and these look stunning in swatches in videos. But I have to say, and I don't think it's the quality of the palette necessarily, I am disappointed in these two. They just like don't show up on my eyes. Like they just are so light that, I mean, I'm pretty fair skinned, and they just don't, they barely build up. It's just, that's disappointing. I kind of wanted it to build up and actually have like a little bit of mauve, because I think that like a mauve color would go really well with some of these like more blue based greens, but they just don't work out for me. This one maybe is okay, maybe these two are okay, but honestly, they don't just, I think the problem is that they don't flatter my skin tone very well, so I'm very disappointed in them. And then the one couple shades that actually are decent, I definitely have other greens like that in my collection. So sadly, this one's ranking at number 20. All right, number 19, we have the Violet Voss Like a Boss palette. Now you'll see that a lot of these palettes aren't necessarily new, but they're new to me. So this is one that I was gifted from a friend, where she, I think, decluttered it from her collection. And I was excited to try out the Violet Voss formula in this bigger kind of like palette. I have one other Violet Voss. I had one other Violet Voss palette, but it was all shimmers. I do like the matte formula, but I find that this color story just isn't that special. I definitely have these shades like 100 times over in my collection, so that's partly why this one's ranking so low. Palette number 18 is from Aether Beauty. This is the Summer Solstice palette. Now I have another one from Aether Beauty that I haven't got to use yet. It's more like mauve leaning. I don't remember the name of this one, or that one, but this guy is really pretty. I don't have any qualms with the formula at all. I think my biggest, like, the reason why it's falling towards the bottom is that, one, none of these like shimmers are that impactful. They're softer, kind of like maybe more mature lid friendly shadows, but there's just nothing special about this palette, and I think that that's part of the reason why I'm like putting it down at the bottom, is that it's a little bit more monochromatic, not really that exciting. Really good quality, like honestly nothing wrong with quality, it's just not that exciting, and these days I'm looking for a little excitement in my life. Okay, for palette number 17, we have another Violet Voss Pro palette. This is Taupe Notch. Now this one is a little bit even more boring than the past two, the other Violet Voss palette and the last palette that I was just complaining about being monotone, but for some reason when I have done looks from this palette, even though they're pretty boring, they still, I feel like this color like story flatters my skin tone quite a bit. So there's a shade in here, oh I can't remember what it is at the moment, I think it's upper crust here, but like you put some like dark kind of cool tone grays in the crease, and then you put that on the lid like a halo eye, and gosh, I loved that look, did not want to take it off. So even though this is a pretty boring palette and kind of surprising to me, it's not falling at the very bottom, because I really like the one or two looks that I can get from this being like smoky, cool tone looks, if that makes sense. Next up, palette number 16, we have a ColourPop Plush Like Me palette. Like, can I just say the packaging on this is amazing. I love the velvet like raised. I love how heavy duty it feels. And it's beautiful. It is a 90s themed palette, which I really expected to love it a lot more than what I did, but I think I'm just let down because I feel like at the end of the day it's kind of boring. This guy here has so much potential. It almost looks like it wants to be green, and then it just looks bronze on me. So again, I have this color story over and over and over. At the same time, I do think this one would be a really good one to travel with, just because I tend to want to have a good number of like different color mattes, and I feel like you do get a good range of mattes in this palette, just not a good range of shimmers, if that makes sense. So that one, did I say number 16? Number 16. Palette number 15, we have the ColourPop All Amethyst palette. Oh my goodness, I really had high expectations for this palette because I really love my little Lilac Lot palette, and I thought that this looked like the part that I like about the Lilac Lot palette is that it has some cool tone kind of purples, and I thought, ooh, this one's gonna do the same for me. And I think this one would have done the same for me, except for I think some of these shades aren't as good as quality as what I'm used to. This guy up here is particularly brilliant. It's kind of chalky. Like it's not creamy like I want it to be. This guy here is really pretty. I don't really love this like pinky shade. This guy is pretty, but at the same time, when I finally get these two on the lid, they look very different in the pan, but I feel like on my lid they don't look all that different. And again, the shade or the shimmer formula on these almost feels a little bit drier than other ColourPop formulas that I've had. Like when I go to swatch them, there's a lot of fallout, a lot of just like, I don't know. Can you tell what I mean there? It just looks a little bit drier for some reason. So for this one, I don't necessarily think it's the fault of the color story. I think it's the quality, which is kind of sad to say. Then we have the Baroque palette. Now this one, I feel like quality-wise is really, really nice. I don't have any of the complaints about the Amethyst palette, but I have to say that this one is pretty limited in what I can do with it. It is just a cool tone gray blue kind of palette. It gives you specific looks. They're beautiful again, but I'm not going to reach for this one all that often just because it's not a lot of range in this palette. Next up, I believe this one is number 13. This is the BH Cosmetics Mimosa palette. I really like this little palette. I think I'm ranking it down not because of quality or anything, but because maybe this color story doesn't quite look as good on me as some other color stories you'll see ahead of it. But the quality on this is fun. I think the range of colors is fun. Maybe missing like one more deeper something option, like one more really deep pink would be nice in here. But all in all, a really fun little palette. All right, next up, I think this one actually might be number 12. Did I say that one was number 12? I'm losing count at this point. Next up is the ColourPop in the Limelight palette. This is one that I honestly was kind of surprised to see it fall into the middle. I have very mixed feelings on this palette. One, I love greens. I love yellow based greens like this. This is another like disappointing shade. It's almost like a peachy or like shade that just doesn't really show up on my skin tone. I can't build it up. I'm a little like, it's just, why is that there? This shade works really well for me, and the rest of them are all good, but I feel like all in all, there's a lot of similarity in this palette. Like I would like to see maybe just some different, like these three greens, again, while beautiful, are just super, super similar. So maybe that's why this one's falling a little bit behind, even though it's a color story that I would tend to prefer quite a bit. All right, this one should be number 11 here. This is the Profusion Ethereal palette. I really like this palette. It does push me outside of my comfort zones quite a bit because it's got some bluey teals that I just don't go for. But a couple of these, like this shade, they're really special. They have some very like beautiful duochromeness to them, and I think that they're stunning. I really should have thought about this and grabbed a little thing to like wipe my hands on, but we're just gonna go with the pants today. But all in all, really pretty. I actually can't wait to pull this out again in the spring because it's really, really pretty palette. Maybe not the most exciting packaging. Maybe I wish they would have gone with something a little bit more, but it is Profusion. Maybe that's how they keep their price down. I do believe this is number 10. This is the Star Wars Darth Vader palette. Y'all, I'm a sucker for a red shade, and that's why I bought this palette, was just because the artwork one and then the like red shade in the middle, and I have really quite enjoyed this palette. I feel like I can get a little bit more wearable looks with like this guy here, and then the red makes for a really fun little halo eye. So that one's a really fun palette that kind of surprised me more than I thought it would this year. All right, palette number 9 is the Melt Gemini palette. I really, really like this palette. It's super unique, I think, in the terms of like my collection as a whole. I think the reason why it's not ranking higher is because I kind of feel a little bit limited in it. Only in my, it's me, it's not the palette, if that makes sense. I know how to get like a gold look out of it, like a yellowy gold look, and then I know how to get a green look out of it. But other than that, I don't really know what to do with it, just because again, I'm not the most experienced, not the most creative person. So I think that's why I ranked it a little bit lower. I think the other palettes that you'll see above it have just a little bit more versatility to them. Next up, we have the At Foresight palette. Another palette that I've owned for a while, but just never got around to using until this year. And I'm very impressed with this little guy so far. I do think it should have more than maybe 2 little shimmers in it, but the range of mattes in here are very good. The quality on them, I've not been disappointed with. Some of these deeper shades I was really nervous to work with, but so far they've worked out really well, blended really well. I've had no issues with them. And I get that there's a bit more versatility in this guy than maybe I initially thought it had. All right, palette number 7 is from ColourPop, the Child palette. And this is another one that I held on to for so long. I definitely have had it since like 2021, but I've been kind of like saving it or like afraid to use it. I don't know what it was, why I waited until this year to use it, but I finally used it. I really like this palette. It's got some browns, it's got some greens, it's got some more unique tone greens in it, and I just think that it's a solid little palette, so I really enjoyed using this one so far. Next up is palette number 5, my Mulan palette from ColourPop. I've said it before that when I first bought this, I thought that is my perfect neutral palette. It's got some cool tones, got some more, not necessarily cool tones, more neutral tones, a little bit of warmth, and then some red. And I love red, and I just think that this palette is really stunning. And I think the reason why it's not falling even maybe up further than what it is that a lot of these shades are like thicker, chunky, glittery shades, and sometimes I want to dial it down. I don't always want to wear a glittery look, so I think that's my biggest con for this palette, but at the end of the day, I think it's a stunning palette, and I'm really enjoying having it in my collection. Palette number 4 is one that I'm really surprised that I enjoy this much. This was kind of an impulse buy when I saw it on the website. I thought, oh, that's a pretty color story, but I didn't expect to like it as much as I do. This is the ColourPop Lust for Dusk palette, and again, I think that this thing has some range, some versatility to it. The quality is there. It's just a really fun little palette. I can wear it. I feel like it is a really good summer palette. It's a good fall palette, and it's just one that I really enjoyed this year. I took this on vacation with me to Santa Barbara. It was stunning. I loved it. I loved every look I did with it, which I find is just a breath of fresh air for me. Okay, full confession here. I don't know what number I'm on anymore. I think I keep thinking that I'm on a different number because there are like little palettes hidden in crevices, and when I go to count them, I just don't see them. Anyways, there are only 4 left. Number 4, this is the ABH Nouveau palette. This is one, again, that I think when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's gonna be my color story, and it is a gorgeous color story. The quality is there, but there's something about it that hasn't quite pushed it. Maybe it's a little bit more subdued than the last 3. It's got like a couple special shades. I would say that this is a special kind of duochrome shade, but for the most part, these are all kind of just metallics. Nice, really good quality metallics, but then the last 3 have some oomph to them, which is why that one ended up being number 4, when honestly when I wanted it, when I asked for it, I really thought that it might land at number 1. Number 3, this is the Mothership the new number 10, I forget what it is, Moonlit Seduction palette. This guy is so fun, and I think when I did my recent little 3 looks in review with it, I was a little bit hard on it, and I started thinking about it recently when I was preparing for this video. I was like, why was I felt like I was harder on that palette than, and I think for 2 reasons. One, it's hella expensive, and 2, I think it could be almost a perfect palette for me had it just a couple more matte shades that were a little bit more lighter that you could do transitions with. But other than that, I think it's stunning, and so I'm kind of not surprised to see that once I've had that like time to have that realization, if that makes sense, that it's falling even higher up on my little ranking than I initially thought it might when I first tried it out. Last 2, now these I think are fun, and that's why they're like right here neck and neck at the end. This is the Oden's Eye Hella palette. Just such a fun color story. This is what I need in my life. I need this kind of excitement. We got some bright greens, we got some blue based greens that actually I feel like are wearable and look decent on me. These pinks, stunning. I love this duochrome, so pretty. I mean, hello, that's so pretty. Anyways, this palette, great quality. I really like the Oden's Eye quality, and this color story is so much fun. Now, number 1, I am not surprised personally. When I got this palette, I was so excited, used it, and I was like, holy cow, I wasn't even anticipating how good this palette was gonna be, and this palette is good. This is the Rose Quartz Huda Beauty palette, and I just love this color story. I love the mauve tones. I love that you can get some very wearable tones in it. Like a couple of these are very almost not, they're still cool tone, but they're almost nudged back towards neutral. And then you got some really fun special shades in here like Blissful, Moon Magic, and Cosmic Love. Oh, they're not going to come across on camera just how pretty they are, but every look that I do with this palette, I'm like, I don't ever want to take my makeup off at the end of the day because it's just so pretty. So this palette definitely ranking #1 for the year. And I usually am such a warm tone gal, but this one, I'm surprised to see a cool tone palette #1, but this one is my favorite one that I tried this year for sure. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Make sure you let me know in the comments what your favorite palette is that you tried out this year, maybe what your worst palette is that you tried out this year. Please don't forget to go check out the Ana Luisa sale. Again, the link is in my description box. My code is also available if you're interested in trying it out. Their sale, again, runs from December 6th until December 20th. If you decide to try them out, please make sure you let me know what you think about them because I'm really impressed with them. Again, make sure you say hello in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.